So very happy and excited to be joined today by Ram Wiener. And to give a little bit of background on Ram serves as Vice President of Business at Sachidananda Ashram Yogaville, overseeing the Integral Yoga Academy, all of the teachers' programs, the Department of Program Development and Advertising. He is a skilled teacher. Ram is certified in meditation, Raja Yoga, children's yoga, adaptive yoga, gentle yoga, and intermediate Hatha Yoga. Ram is also a native of Central America and is fluent in Spanish, Portuguese, French, and English. So thanks for joining us today, Ram.
Sure. I hope I can be fluent in English.
Would you say now you've had the most time practicing speaking English of all the language you speak?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I left home the first time when I was 14. And so I've been speaking more English than anything else since then.
So you left home when you were 14, like permanently left home, you mean?
I was sent to school in the States, and then I went to college, and then I went back for about a year and a half, and then I went back to graduate school, and so I stayed here since all that time. So yes, I just went back for a year and a half, but I left home when I was 14. Yeah.
Was that something that you wanted or that your parents wanted for you?
My parents are from Europe, and they always thought that in the U.S. you can get the best education. They really kind of admire and respect the United States. And I was in El Salvador, and the schools weren't that great. I wasn't studying that much, and they felt that I could get a better education in the States, so they sent me to the States, and I was all for it. Yeah. It was a great adventure. Yeah.
Can you remember like what you felt like during that time when that was happening?
How I felt?
Like how you felt during that time? Like what a huge transition in your life, right?
Yeah, it was a big transition, but I thought it was a real gift that I was given. But I ended up that I didn't like being in the high school in the States. It wasn't that the best. I mean, it was. I learned a lot academically, but it was an all-boys school, and it was very competitive. And I think most of the kids were sons of parents who were just kind of trying to either divorce or were having problems, and they wanted to have their kids away. So they weren't that nice, a lot of them, especially for someone who came from another country. So it was an awakening for me in that way.
So do you look back at that time? Like it sounds like it might have been a bit challenging for you to go through that experience, on your own with all these other kids that maybe weren't that friendly or welcoming or whatever it was. How do you kind of reflect on that now in terms of the effect that it's had on you as an adult?
I don't reflect that much on it. Basically, it did affect me right afterwards, but that was one of the great things about meeting Gurudev is that he, all those insecurities that were caused by these kids being very critical or mean or whatever, I just started developing into the person that I wanted to be, and I learned to forgive and forget, and wish him all the best. And they were doing what they could do the best, and at that time because of their circumstances. So I don't think it's affected me in the last 30 years or anything like that. No.
So I'll ask you about forgiveness. Is that something that's challenging for you to forgive? And when you have been able to forgive, what have you noticed about the effect that it's had on you when you can do it?
Well, what I see of forgiveness, if I don't, the person who loses is myself, because I carry that within me, and then it it doesn't free me. So by forgiving, I kind of free myself from any hard feelings that I have for that other person or situation. So, but it has to be real. It has to be authentic. I have to see, okay, what am I forgiving here? But I try to get to that point where sincerely I want to forgive. The main thing is, the hardest part is to forget. So, and that's a challenge. And I don't know if I've totally accomplished that.
Yeah, I reached the same conclusion that, if I don't forgive, it's really going to affect me. And I don't want, those kind of thoughts of animosity or ill will towards other people. But it still seems challenging sometimes. Like, why, even though like I know that on an intellectual level, that it's healthy for me to forgive other humans, why is it still challenging? Like, what are the obstacles in the way of us being able to do that more easily?
Well, for me, it's not that difficult, because I learned from the experience that if I don't do it, I really become miserable, and I don't want that. So I thrive to try to figure it out. But the first thing I do, which really helps me, is I do the Om Trayambaka mantra to that person, and try and send them good wishes, because obviously I have negative feelings towards that person, and by wishing that person well, then the mind starts shifting into a more neutral place instead of an accusatory place, and once not that you're all loving and all that to that person, but you're trying to get to that and think of the positive things of that person. So trying to get away from those negative thoughts it's really by placing positive thoughts in there that changes the way the mind is thinking, and it brings it to a more of a point of stillness. And in that point of stillness, then that peace comes in, and you can look at it from a point of, okay, we're on this together, and not from a point of animosity or blaming or anything like that.
I want to ask you about competition. I know that you enjoy, playing sports and whatnot. What do you see as being like a healthy competition versus maybe unhealthy competition?
Sure. Yeah, competition brings the best and the worst in us. But the worst is that you can learn from it, because if, for example, the sport that I play the most is tennis. And so it's not really a team sport. So you have to be responsible for how you're acting on the court. It's not like you can blame another teammate for something. It's you versus somebody else. And so you can really analyze how your mind is if you're starting getting angry, and then you see your anger coming up over because you're losing or something like that. And then you can analyze and grow from that. On the positive side, which there are many, it teaches it. When I'm in competition, I tend to focus more, and by focusing, it brings a strength to the mind to do that, and also physically after playing tennis, for example, I feel really good because it improves the circulation. I sweat any toxins, and there's movement in the body that helps me relax. So it helps me in strengthening the mind in that way, and also observing any negative things about myself and learning from that. And I've learned that if I get angry or frustrated, it just makes it worse. It doesn't make it better. So through repeatedly doing that mistake, I get less angry, less frustrated until I get to the point where I'm more detached.
Before we started, we were talking about kind of just how you're feeling today versus yesterday, and you mentioned that you're feeling better today than you were, yesterday. So what I want to ask you is about just like navigating these waves that we go through, like days where everything just seems great and I'm feeling light and happy. And then other days where things are tough and I'm frustrated. Maybe I'm feeling angry. I'm angry at myself for feeling angry. How do you tend to just navigate the waves of life?
By accepting that it's part of life. It's not always that you're going to feel great. And that's where the teachings come when when things aren't going well. That's when I need to use the teachings and also accept that what's happening. Don't deny it. You're not feeling well. What's the reason? Analyze it and see what you can do to get to a better place. Most of the time it's the mind, and although there are outside circumstances that can cause that, and like the example I got yesterday, I got some emails that weren't really that great, and which affected me. So what I had to do is get my mind again, like we talked just a few minutes ago, get to a mind to a peaceful place, so I don't dwell on what was happening. So it's how I respond to things that's important. The actions outside of me will constantly be there, and it's no accident. I feel that anything that happens in front of us is for the welfare of our evolution. So if I look at it that way, then I'm in a more positive frame, and I see it that, okay, this is good. And the second thing, it'll pass. So, and the faster I recognize that, the less time I'll be unhappy or unjoyful. Yeah.
Is spirituality, having a spiritual practice, related to being mature? For lack of a better word, I'll use the word like being spoiled. For myself, when I am feeling frustrated, right, or things aren't going my way, I'm not getting what I want, I try to remind myself that, I don't get to have everything that I want. Like, that's not what life is about. So this like kind of zooming out and asking the question, what do I expect out of life? Am I being spoiled, just always wanting it, my way? So I guess what I'm asking about is just like the relationship between having a spiritual practice and being a mature human being.
Well, I don't mind if nature wants to spoil me. That's okay with me. But
but it does too anyway, right? Like that's a part of the aspect. It's just like looking at all of the gifts and like looking at my life and saying, wow, I have been so spoiled in so many ways.
Well, the thing about the spirit, what I've learned in the spiritual path is that I'm not going to, desires are not going to cause my happiness. I can have some wants and stuff, but if I don't get them, I'm ready to let them go, or else I don't want to spend my whole life in a single want that I have until it happens. I can try, and if it doesn't happen, I'll move on to the next. But the main thing is to accept everything that's happening and have gratitude for whatever great things are happening, because life is a mixture of both. And So try to focus on that I have good health, that I have a spiritual teacher, that I know some nice people, that I like the people I serve with. So there's so many things that I can be grateful that I don't want the mind to start getting bogged down on one or two things that I desire, thinking that it's going to make me happy. And not that that doesn't happen, but it doesn't go for that long anymore.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Not going that long anymore. Like maybe the challenging times are less, right? The duration is less. Do you think it's good to like acknowledge your victories in a way there? Because I think like the tendency is to be very hard on ourselves always. Is like, what ways am I not, being good or doing good? But is there an aspect of positive reinforcement that can be valuable to kind of look at yourself and say, oh, okay, I got really angry there, but maybe a few years back, it would have lasted for, a few days or the whole day. And now it only lasted, for an hour. Is there an aspect of kind of positively reinforcing ourselves that's important?
I don't know if positively reinforcing would be the case for me. I'm great. Again, I'm grateful that, okay, now it kind of reinforces my spiritual path. Okay, I'm in the right path because I'm not holding on to stuff for months. It used to be a year. Now it's months, and then now it's weeks, and then it's days, and then it's hours, and then it's minutes. So I see the progress, and I'm just grateful that to my teacher, to Gurda, for that, because he's the one who got me into this path. I was obviously looking for something and searching for something. Didn't have any inclination that it was spirituality or anything like that. I definitely was not inclined on that, but so he kind of just took me and transformed my life. So I'm grateful that I'm able to enjoy life more because I'm not holding on to all those insignificant things that I thought before were so important, and just move on and go on with life.
How did Gurudev do that for you, transform your life?
You need to ask him. I don't know how he did it. I really don't. I was just. I remember when I first. Well, it's a long story. I mean, but when I first took my Hatha class, the peace that I felt at the end of the Hatha class was something that I had never felt before, but I had no interest in a guru, or I thought that's not for me, but things in life brought me to that, and eventually, I started slowly taking in the teachings and saw the effects that it had on my life. And slowly but surely, I started surrendering a little bit more and more to the fact that I had a human being that was a spiritual teacher that could guide me. And I resisted it for quite a while. So it was meant to be. I wasn't really looking for that specific thing. It just happened. It was my
taught that class for you? He was the teacher?
Okay.
He was the teacher that class?
No, he was not. No, it was at the Integral Yoga Institute in New York that I took the class. No.
But you felt, such peace when that was over, and you knew that was kind of connected to him in a way that you had to move forward, or?
No, no. That's what kept me coming back to the Institute. I didn't connect it to him. It took me a while to connect anything to him because it was such a different thing, that a human being could have an effect on me that strongly. So, or that I could see that. So it took a while.
Yeah, I think it's, it's challenging for people who have never had that kind of experience or a relationship with a guru or a teacher, to understand the benefit, you know, uh, and based on what you just shared, it kind of seems as like you were in that category yourself. You had no interest and you couldn't understand it, but you went through experiences and were opened up onto a new path where you saw the benefit. So can you like describe the benefit a little bit of what you saw to keep you moving in that direction?
Well, first of all, I have to say that, you know, other things weren't working out. So if everything was working really well, then I wouldn't have been receptive to it. But things weren't working in my life. I wasn't happy, and so he came along when I was looking. I was obviously looking for something that would make me a better human being or a happier human being. And it's hard to explain, but I just started. He basically, he opened my heart. That's basically it, and and that's major heart surgery. So if someone can do that, it's not that intellectual. It was like, wow, all of a sudden I'm feeling some love for humanity, for people, and for myself. And he opened my heart to him mainly, and then obviously it then spreads to others. So it was a heart opening experience, and that's what, if I really had to pinpoint it, that's what it was. It wasn't, okay, he said this and that makes sense. And although I did resonate with his teachings, not all of them. I figured, okay, this is most anybody, I've resonated with most what someone has said. And even I took mantra initiation, not being 100% sure, and you're supposed to be, but I went ahead and did it anyway, and thank God it worked. So yeah.
So was it acceptance? Like, did you feel that he accepted you as you were then, and that made such a difference, and that opened up your heart that you didn't feel that before?
That when I say, I would cry when I would see him. It's hard to explain. It was just like I said, heart surgery. He would walk in, and all of a sudden I had these feelings that I've never had in my life. And not only he was accepting me, he was just loving me unconditionally. And so sometimes it was embarrassing how there were people around, and I was more concerned about what are they going to think, it would just came out, and I couldn't control it. So it's something that it's hard for maybe to people to understand. I don't know, but for that to happen, I knew this is it. No one else can do. This has never happened in my life, and I like this. Whatever. So this is where those feelings. I don't. Or yeah. This is it. Yeah.
I think about compartmentalizing sometimes, and when I hear you discussing that, I imagine him doing the opposite, that he was living the teachings, right? He embodied that which he talked about, but it also seems pretty common to be able to kind of box things up, right? Especially on the spiritual path. It's like, okay, I'm in spiritual study right now, or I'm teaching a Hatha class. So in these moments, I am maybe feeling love or tuning into a higher source. But what about in the day-to-day stuff? When I'm getting food or I'm driving my car, like, I just want to ask you about kind of that human tendency to be very different in different situations. right? And how do we get beyond that, to the place that it seems that Gurudev was, where he was living this all the time, that love and kindness was just permeating his being all the time.
I'm not there yet, so I can't tell you. I try to, I catch myself if I'm not being loving, or if I'm not being kind to someone. I catch myself almost immediately. That's a benefit of meditation. I mean, I'm totally aware when it happens, and I try to shift that right away. And when I'm feeling angry or negative or anything like that, I try to be extra kind to people because I know that I'm feeling that way. So I don't want to transfer that energy to anybody, So I try to be extra kind or extra loving when that happens. Or if I'm really bad off, I go bicycling or whatever it takes. But I know one thing I know is I don't want to be that way. So I'll do whatever it takes to get out of it. And not that I want to suppress it. I will analyze it, but I'm not going to analyze it right there when I'm feeling that way. I have to get to that neutral point, which I get through either meditation or Hatha Yoga, and by thinking positive thoughts about the situation.
So analyzing it, I think of our relationships to ourselves, right? So maybe I was mean to another person. I wasn't feeling kind, right? Now, how do I reflect on myself in that action, right? Like, do I berate myself? Do I say, you were lousy there. Like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you be more kind and more loving? So is there even a trick here? I don't know if maybe a trick isn't the right word, but that a key is being able to accept all aspects of ourselves, even when we're not maybe the way that we want to be. And by accepting that, maybe that it loses its hold a little bit. Whereas when I'm like saying like, oh, you were no good there, I found that that's going to stick around a lot longer if I don't give myself the freedom to be essentially anyway.
Yeah, my initial reaction is not to berate myself. I guess I've never had that happen. I don't. That's not a tendency in my part. What my tendency is, I'll blame the other person. That's the first thing I do, which is not. It's great. And again, or I forget a person. I could say, oh, I ate the wrong thing. That's why I'm acting. So that's why I'm acting this way, or I overate, or I didn't sleep, or I did this. No, I whatever it is, I think you're right. I try to get to that point where I'm responsible for the way I'm feeling. Why did I get this way? And how can I prevent it from happening? And that's one way, analyzing. And like I said, another thing is just do other things, like go do Hatha Yoga or pranayama or go play, bicycling or jogging, whatever helps to get you to a point where that energy is not infiltrating your whole system.
What about giving it up? Just giving it to a higher power. Like, I don't understand this. I'm releasing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that's my saving grace. I mean, because a lot of times I don't know what's happening, especially why is this happening, and so I have to ask for guidance because I can't figure it out. So and that's the beauty of the spiritual path, is that you pray for guidance, and then the things happen around, when you're in the situation or whatever, and you learn the lesson there. What it would have been a better way of handling it or acting in that situation, and that softens me up. I mean, usually that's the lesson to me. Just soften up,
Mm.
It's not that big of a deal. And that's what I learned. Be gentle with not only with people, but with yourself and with others. And it's not that important. I mean, and so, yeah, that's the beauty of this, that I'm constantly asking for guidance because I'm not that intelligent. I can't figure it out. So
I love that. Just, softening up, the idea of that really resonates strongly with me. I think about even like the collective ego of human beings, right? In a way, we've been given, like, our gift is also possibly our biggest flaw, and like our intelligence, because we can understand so much that sometimes, we delude ourselves into thinking that we can know everything, right? So there's really a lack of humility there, and I think this is what you're referring to, and maybe an essential component of the spiritual path is giving it up. Is like, I don't know, that I don't need to know necessarily. I think this is really like a major obstacle. I'm wondering if you notice this too. It's like human beings, like we take our opinions so seriously. It's like what I think about this and that person, like our judgments, like go absolutely crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, judgment is a really really detrimental for sure. And again, that's what it doesn't help at all. And I find myself doing that less and less. Not that I don't do that still. But that's, again, part of the spiritual path. It's not like all of a sudden you're not judging anybody. No, instead of judging every day, you're judging, every month or whatever. It just becomes less and less, and because you start realizing it's not going to get you anywhere. And who am I to be judging anybody else anyway? I have my own stuff. So, and I've learned that it doesn't help me, and I don't feel good about myself when I do that either. It's like I know better, that I'm judging you. So it is the ego, a part of the ego doing that. So I try not to do it. When I catch myself, I say, okay, watch yourself.
Wanted to ask you about feeling jealousy versus feeling, respect and just admiration for another person. We have a choice to make when we see maybe a quality that looks like it might be impressive. That I could feel either bad about myself for not having that quality, or I can just say, oh, this is a different person than me, and I respect them for the quality that they have.
Well, I think we all go through that, especially when we're growing up, is trying to copy or imitate other people or stuff like that. And I failed miserably in copying anybody else. And I've learned that, and Gurudeva said, we're all unique. We're all unique. We're all different, and we're all unique. And we have to find that authentic self. I was, the other day I saw a saying on a blackboard here at the ashram, which said, when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. So, and that's what I think we're being molded into, is, into that unique person that God created us for. And by letting go of trying to be like somebody else, which like I said, I failed miserably, thank God. So then you just try to tune into the universal intelligence to guide you into the person that, not only that a good person, but also that person that you like to be. There's part of us that we want to be a certain, we want to be that person that loves themselves. And So the universe helps us in doing that. But through my intelligence, I haven't been able to figure that out. I have to kind of surrender to the higher and intelligence, or to Gurudev, or to God, in order to guide me into that person that I want to be.
Mm.
But I don't try to imitate anybody else anymore.
I love that. That's such a great line, that, letting go to what I am, I become what I might be, right? Or something like that, right?
And when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be.
Mm. It's like this like letting go feels extremely key to me on the spiritual path. Like, it's like just letting go to what's happening, right?
Yeah, for me, the spiritual path is okay. You're being molded into an instrument of the divine, and you have to let go of that ego part, or else you're not really surrendering to the higher energy, or to the divine. So and that happens daily. That you have to surrender, and when you're in the spiritual path, it's not like everything's going really well and all that. No, if things don't go well, you have to surrender to that, and that's molding you into the person that God or Guru are molding you into.
It feels so much more joyful to me, or that's like the doorway into joy. Like when I let go, now I can experience joy.
Sure. And yeah, and sometimes we have to kind of hit ourselves, hit against a wall a few times before we surrender. So even surrendering, Gurudev used to say, you don't even surrender, you're made to surrender. I mean, yeah. So things continue happening until you just give up and you say, okay, I surrender. But you're made to surrender by the situations in your life. They keep repeating themselves, and you keep doing the same thing until you say, okay, that's it. I surrender. What is it?
Yeah, I think it's really just like the essence of God, and like the power of having a belief in God is really all about that, is like checking our ego and surrendering to a higher force, right? And like you said, you have to keep on a lot of times banging against walls and getting burnt before you realize that doing it all yourself, so to speak, or thinking that you can take credit for what's happening or something like that is just not working.
Yeah, or thinking, no, the next time is going to be different, but it's not. It's like that story about this person that kept walking in the street and falling in the hole every time, and being upset because it happened, until he figured it out. He went to the other side of the street and walked that way. So yeah,
right. And it's like this letting go, I think, like builds like this levity where we're not so like beholden to the path that we're taking, right? Like that's why that guy is taking the same path every time, because that's what he knows, that's what he's familiar with.
Right.
But if I let go and everything's light, it's like, oh, I'll try this time and see how that goes.
That's
and right. That's where discovery lies.
For sure. And again, that's where fear comes, where you're afraid to try, I guess fear and surrender are totally different, because it's hard to, but sometimes even with the fear, you surrender because you're not happy. So you do surrender, and not knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah. Fear is such an elusive character, so to speak, right? And it seems almost impossible to completely get rid of it. But more of the question is like, what do I do when it comes?
That's right.
How much do I allow it to dominate my life? But for me, that takes me back to gratitude. Gratitude is what like my weapon against fear, I would say. What you were alluding to before is like, if I'm feeling grateful, really genuinely grateful, like I feel that about what I've had so far in my time of life, then I'm not scared for what's going to happen, because even if I don't get anything else, I'm still satisfied. I'm content. Right.
Yeah, fear is you're afraid that you're not going to get what you want, and so by being grateful, then you're saying, oh, I appreciate everything that I've gotten. So why be fearful since I have all of that? Yeah.
Ram, thanks so much.
Okay.
I've enjoyed our time together.
I hope I made some sense.
Me too. And thanks for all your service. I know you're such a instrumental, part of this. Not to feed the ego or anything. I know you've gotten as much as you've given, but just gratitude to you for every day, showing up, participating, and building our spiritual community.
Yeah, I'm very blessed to be able to do that. Gurudev said, you've been given an opportunity to serve. It's not like I'm needed or anything like that. I've given an opportunity, and I'm making hay while the sun shines. Is that the expression? I don't know if that's correct or not. But
yeah, make hay when the sun shines. It's shining now, so I'm going to take advantage. Or this is the opportunity for service, so I'm going to serve. Do you think at all more about like any kind of I don't know, goals or changes to your life that you're kind of considering into the future, or are you just simply being present and don't really think too much about the future?
I don't right now, especially in these days. I don't know what the future will come. What will happen in the future. So I can't plan anything, not knowing what's out there anymore. So I just focus on the present. Yeah. I do focus on, okay, what can we do with, like what I do here at the ashram? Like what can I do with programs or the store or something like that? But basically, I wake up and I try to focus on the present and enjoy the present. And that's my thing. Enjoy everything that I'm doing. That's my goal, to find joy in everything.
Thank you, Ram.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this content and think others might as well, please feel free to share and subscribe.